Hello again. This is RPM Flows with Dr. G. Thank you again for coming on board for another episode. Before we get started, let's do our mantra and then we'll take a deep breath and then we'll get going. I honor and salute the divinity in you. Okay. Okay. So, as I said, welcome back. Today's episode is about emotional resilience. And we've been talking about all the different kinds of resiliencies. And today we're going to touch on emotional resilience and go a little deeper into that. Life is going to test us, okay? Unexpected challenges, losses, moments, self-doubt, setbacks. However, it's important to remind ourselves daily that those setbacks, those doubts, those fears, those challenges don't define us. It's how we respond to them that defines our character. It's how many times we get back up and keep going anyway. So, just to give you a sense of how what we're talking about today, I'm first going to delve into what is emotional resilience. Then I will talk about another find your flow moment, this time involving my daughter and I. And it was a difficult one, but I wanted to share it nevertheless because I think it was an important event and it helped me reflect on my ability to be emotionally resilient. And then we'll talk about how to cultivate emotional resilience. What are some ways to do this? Some strategies to consider and think about. And as always, please feel free to like and subscribe. Add comments if you'd like. There will also be some of these more salient clips that will be included in my Instagram page. So be on the lookout for those in the near future. And also wanted to invite Coda into our conversation today. She just went for a nice hour walk, about 45 minutes. So she's a little bit tired, but she's also very integral part of my work, my daily life, and I love her. She loves me. I think we help each other be more holistically resilient. So when we talk about emotional resilience, what are we talking about? So emotional resilience is our ability to navigate difficult emotions such as shame, anger, rage, envy, jealousy, guilt, and we learn from our struggles, and we also, as we become emotionally resilient, we stand strong in the face of these emotions or uncertainty about where these emotions may take us. There was this famous author, Dr. Joseph Murphy, who reminds us that our minds are like gardens, and they can be fertile with empowering thoughts and emotions, or they can be a toxic wasteland of toxic thoughts and emotions. So we decide, what we're going to plant into our minds and into our emotional spheres. Those emotions can be joy, optimism, empowerment, authenticity, and resilience, or we can plant seeds of doubt, fear, shame, guilt, envy, jealousy, and then those emotions tend to take root inside of us and make us feel very much either more anxious, more paranoid, distrustful of the people and the world around us. And then there's another professional psychologist, Nick Wignall, that unpacked emotional resilience a little bit more in a more organized fashion, and I like the way he did it, so I want to share that with you. He broke it down into 3 different facets, one being emotional intelligence, another emotional fitness, and then emotional resilience. And that the emotional intelligence with the emotional fitness, when they combine, they bring about our emotional resilience. So what is emotional intelligence? It's understanding our emotions and working with them in a productive fashion. Okay. Emotional fitness is developing those daily habits of strengthening our emotional well-being. And we'll talk more about that as we go. And then emotional resilience is about responding to difficult emotions with strength and clarity, and establishing an emotional baseline that is neutral, balanced, and present. So, for example, when we are acting out in an emotionally charged fashion, whether it's rage or shame or guilt or jealousy or envy, it's important that we have a center that we can come back to from the rage or the shame or the guilt or the envy. Otherwise, if our emotional baseline is closer to one of those areas in that adverse spectrum, so if we're closer to the rage spectrum of emotions as a natural baseline, then we're probably going to be very easily frustrated, easily to anger, quick triggered type emotional personality, and that the distance between rage and your neutral place is not very far. So the further it is, the better, because you want to be able to come back to the center and be relaxed, be open, be present in the moment. And Daniel Goleman, he was a pioneer in emotional intelligence. In fact, that's one of his books that he wrote, was Emotional Intelligence, before really anyone was truly thinking about that as an actual intelligence. And he argued that IQ was sort of dated and not really the best predictor of success in someone's future or their abilities or capacities to learn and understand. That actually emotional intelligence was much more significant, because people were able to then start to look within and understand their emotional functioning and how they responded to difficult situations, or even just everyday situation, mundane elements of life, or even a congratulatory type or celebrations or events that were exciting and life-changing, but that the emotional intelligent individuals were able to come back to that center, that neutral, balanced, and present center, in a way that was healthy or that is healthy, and able to then appreciate all the different emotions that we could experience on a given day, but knowing that there's this comfort inside of us that we can know that we can get back to that center, that centered place. A Find Your Flow moment that happened a few weeks back. In essence, it was a Thursday morning. I remember I had a very busy docket for the day, especially in the morning. And I reminded my daughter, Zoe, that she needed to take the bus that morning because I was not going to be able to take her to school. And I told her, please leave at 8 a.m. And I reminded her again as we got closer to 8 a.m. that morning. So I had already told her twice. So before I knew it, before we both knew it, it was 8:07. She was still in the house. I checked the Here Comes the Bus app, and unfortunately the bus was basically at this bus stop, which meant there was no way she was going to make it. She would have to be there in less than 30 seconds to make that bus. And in that moment, I'm going to tell you right now that it was not my best moment as a father. I lost my cool. I used some inappropriate profanity. I screamed at her to come downstairs, get her stuff, get in the effing car. It was not my best moment. Rage, at first it was like irritation that had been building up, and then once I saw that the bus was there and it was about to leave, rage just clicked. And I recall in the car as we were driving, I was speeding, there's no doubt about it, and trying to weave through traffic, trying to get her to school, because my whole day was going to be discombobulated. And so, needless to say, I said some more choice words. I was driving fast. The rage had taken a hold of me for those 20 minutes or so that we were driving. And even on the way to the office that morning, I was still seething, and I could almost feel like smoke coming up off my head, because I was still like raging. But within an hour, I would say I was able to pause and really reflect and sit with what had made me feel such rage. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to not attach to this rage any longer. I had felt that it had won the battle. It had a strong grip on me that day, and I told myself I'm not going to allow rage to win the rest of this day. So I'm not going to give it any more power. And I commenced in sending my daughter a apology text on WhatsApp. And then that afternoon, I also picked her up from school, and we processed it in the car together. And I again apologized verbally, explained to her that the rage had taken a hold of me, but I had allowed it to just flow through me instead of trying to push it down and pretend that it wasn't there. Because it is important to allow strong emotions to still flow through us. We don't want to deny them or pretend they're not there, because then they get more power, okay? But in explaining that, I also let her know that at times I believe that she can be somewhat entitled and non-appreciative. So I asked her to create a list of things she was grateful for, and that she would share that with us that weekend. So she understood, and I think the key here is not that I went into an episode of rage, not that that's something I'm proud of or enjoyed doing. It's more of, okay, I was able to come back from that extreme emotion and come back to that center where I was present, neutral, and balanced, okay? And that's what I want to teach her. I want to teach her that it's okay to express strong emotion and let them flow through you, but you ultimately want to come back to that center and be able to say your apologies and make meaning out of the experience. So as you're listening, think about your own find your flow moments, maybe dealing with a very strong emotion such as rage or jealousy or anger or envy or shame. And feel free to share if you feel comfortable under the comments, or reach out to me if you'd like as well. So in terms of how do we cultivate emotional resilience, there's lots of different information out there, a lot of different authors that we can read on. One such author is one of my favorites, Dr. Wayne Dyer. One of his quotes was, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." That's a real deep statement when you really think about it. I want to repeat it because I think it's very important. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So imagine if your filter is through a rage, you're on the spectrum of rage or jealousy or insecurity, then the way you look at things are coming from that place of feeling paranoia or insecurity or anger about whatever innocuous thing you're looking at, or a person or thing or an event. So it's important to reframe these challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, as someone who's triggered may ask themselves, it's better to ask, what can this teach me? What can I learn from this experience? That's just a much better question to ask ourselves when we're going through challenging events or themes in our lives. Also, taking charge of your mind. And Dale Carnegie wrote about this. And it's important to focus on what you can control instead of dwelling on the uncertainty of life. And then breaking problems into small, actionable steps. Making one decision at a time. This reminds me of this really funny movie that my daughter and I love to watch together. It's called What About Bob? And he's a hyper anxious individual, has very a multitude of phobias and fears, and the doctor appropriately tells him at the very beginning of the film, when you focus on how you're getting home, don't focus on getting on the bus or the train to get home first. First focus on getting out of the office. So you take in baby steps to get out of the office. Then once you get out of the office, you take baby steps to get out into the hallway. Then once you get to the hallway, you take baby steps to get to the elevator, and you go down the elevator and then get out of the building, and so on and so on. And that's what I believe Carnegie's trying to reference here. It's important to take those baby steps to learn better and cultivate a sense of emotional resilience from within. And then one of my favorite authors, I know I have a lot, so I like to read. So, Mel Robbins' Secret Weapon, that 5-second rule. When self-doubt creeps in, act before your mind talks you out of it. So almost like she talks about that 5, that 4, the 3, the 2, the 1, boom, action. So it's almost like just jumping into that icy cold water before you have too much time to deliberate. For me, it's certain mornings when I'm going to the gym, I just get up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I do my stretches. I get my gym clothes on and I go without thinking too much about it, because if I dwell on it too long, the self-doubt may come in, and then that takes over instead of the sense of empowerment that I know I will feel at the end of my workout. Also, embracing uncertainty, some wisdom from Elif Shafak, who was a brilliant storyteller, or is. It reminds us that life is fluid, unpredictable, and beautifully chaotic. Instead of resisting change, flow with it. Trust that even in the unknown, you are being guided to exactly where you need to be. And that's what this channel is about, is trusting in yourself, trusting in RPM flows, that as you flow with life, it will take you where you need to be. And then lastly, another way to cultivate emotional resilience, to create emotional fitness rituals, okay? So just like physical fitness, those emotional fitness rituals require daily habits. For example, morning affirmations, and then that could be, one that I really love from Mel Robbins is not only does she do those high fives to herself, like high five, high five, high five, high five, high five, but she also looks at herself in the mirror and then puts her hand on her heart, and she tells herself, I'm okay, I am safe, I am loved. And that's a great way also, I think, to start the day. You just go ahead and do it with me now. Put your hand on your heart, say, I'm okay, I am safe, I am loved. And I think over time you start to feel this sense of self-appreciation and gratitude for who you are as a human being and how you showing up in the world. Also, journaling to process emotions instead of suppressing them. Doing the deep breathing, the meditation on a daily basis. And there's a lot of great guided meditation out there on YouTube that you can turn on and listen to as you're trying to start your day or trying to wind down on maybe a busy or hectic day. And then really connecting with supportive people who lift your spirit. Try to identify who are the people in my life that are more of energy drainers, or are they energy givers, okay? So hopefully these are some helpful strategies that could help you to really reflect on how to cultivate your emotional resilience. So final thoughts, I wanted to just give a recap that emotional resilience isn't about avoiding difficulty, it's about mastering how we respond to it. And what we covered today, we defined emotional resilience, we talked about the powerful strategies from different experts on how to navigate emotional resilience, emotional intelligence, emotional fitness, and I also talked about my daughter and I's RPM flows, find your flow moment. I would love to hear from you now. So as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, feel free to leave some comments or likes, and I truly would appreciate it. And so now, as we're coming to a close, I want to close with, I honor and salute the divinity in you, and remember that until next time, let your flow be purposeful and free on RPM Flows with Dr. G. And Coda says bye too. She's still napping, but she's a sweetheart. Okay, have a great one. Hope you have an emotionally resilient day. Until next time, goodbye.